29, 30, 31. Check out this massive beast of a bike, guys. This thing is a huge capacity battery e-bike that we're gonna be checking out today. This is the Wallke H6. Now they did send this over for me for testing and review. We're gonna put it through its paces today and see what kind of power this thing has. Now this has a dual battery with a massive 35 amp hour capacity. It has a 14 amp hour battery in the front and a 21 amp hour battery in the rear here behind the seat. And this bike sits up high. When I seen pictures of it online, I was like, man, that's an awfully short looking bike. But guys, in person, this thing is pretty big. Now, who I'm gonna recommend this for right off the bat, without me even getting too far into the testing, just from my initial impressions, is gonna be for somebody that's either pretty big, could be pretty heavy because it has a massive amount of battery power to get you a really far amount of mileage, or for somebody that needs to commute a really long way to, say, work or food delivery or whatever. Now it is a little limited on the back here. I don't know if you can add some kind of racks or something on the back if you were doing food delivery. I'm sure you can, but this thing with a massive 35 amp hour battery is going to get you a very long distance. Now, sorry to say, guys, I'm not going to be doing a range test on this bike. Maybe later on in the future I will, if I ride it throughout like a week or two and just keep track of my miles. But in just one day, there's no way I'm gonna drain this battery. But we're gonna get into all the other specs and features of this bike, show you some of the unique things on it, and we're gonna dive into some of the display settings, which are pretty cool with the Keller display, and just go over all the specs and features and details. Now this bike was packaged really well, guys. If you've seen my Instagram reel, it was pretty crazy, all wrapped in foam, and it came with mirrors, a cell phone holder, and you'll get a double cylinder foot pump. Works pretty well. You get a second seat post, which is not suspension, and this will get the height down lower if you needed it not to be so high if you were a little bit of a shorter rider. You have a cable lock, which I would never recommend, and it seems really cheap, so don't rely on this to secure your bikes. A toolkit, 15mm wrench, owner's manual. You get a 3 amp charger for the rear battery, and you get a 2 amp charger for the battery that is in the frame. Now, I seen on their website that it says that it comes with their premium accessory package if you pre-order it. Now, I don't know if it's still for pre-order, because when I looked last, it said that it was available for shipping in 2 days, so I'm not sure if this is just gonna come with all the bikes or not. That's something you might wanna check on and see. But let's go ahead, dive into the specs and features of this bike and show you guys what it's all about. So as you can tell, this bike sits up really high. With the included suspension seat post that they give you, the minimum height on this bike is 38 inches, and you can tell here that I'm pretty much touching on my tiptoes. I'm about 5'8", and it's almost hard for me to touch the ground at 5'8". Now they do give you a regular seat post, and like I said, I'm not sure if they give that with all the bikes or not. I didn't see any information on that. But if you put the regular seat post in there, you'll get down about another 2.5 inches to about 35.5 inches. So if you're a shorter rider, this bike might not be for you. Now, once I'm up on it, it feels like it has really good leg extension. I'm at the minimum seat height here, and I'm fine at 5'8". Now they say this bike can accommodate people at 5'4". Maybe that's with the non-suspension seat post. But let's go ahead over, dive into all the other specs of this bike. Then we're gonna take it out on some hills, do a road test with it, see how fast we can get this thing up to. It's supposed to be a class 3 bike, so we'll see if we can get it up to 28 miles per hour and just see how it performs, guys. Now, if you're interested in picking one of these up, I'll leave a link down below, and if I can get a coupon code for you guys to save a few bucks, I'll include that down there as well. If you use that link, I will make a small commission at no extra cost to you, but I want to thank you guys in advance for helping to support the channel. So one thing that I noticed is that pedal assist 1 is very smooth, guys, nice and slow right off the bat. Really good control, seems like it's programmed really well. But we'll go over all that here in a few minutes after we go over these specs. Oh yeah, this bike does have dual suspension, including, well, triple suspension if you include the suspension seat post. Now, one thing I noticed, guys, sometimes when you turn this bike on, it will flash 0% on your battery. I'm not sure why it does that, and I haven't figured out what these 2 little bars are. Maybe that's dual batteries. But if you put it in pedal assist 0, I think you could be in any of the pedal assist also, but if you put it in 0 and push on the throttle, your percentage will show up. So not sure why it doesn't show up until you do that, but I've seen that happen a few times now. So now let's go over the specs and features of this Wallke H6 massive 35 amp hour capacity battery, Ebike, 750 watt motor, 28 amp controller inside the frame there. Now I did take this controller out to verify. They mentioned 30 amp on their website. It says 28 amp on the controller. Now if you guys take this controller out, make sure you take a photo of how it was in there, because literally it took me like 45 minutes to get it to go back in there, because the length of it is almost too long to fit in there. And if you don't have it in there just right, it takes forever to figure out and maneuver it to get that put back together. Now there's also a 30 amp battery equalizer in there, which is what you normally need when you use two batteries on an e-bike. You have to have some kind of chip in there to control both batteries. You never want to wire them direct. So that's nice to see that they have that in there. Now you could take one of these batteries out and ride the bike with either the front battery, or you could take the front battery out and ride it with just the back battery. So if you only have one battery charged up, you can go ahead and ride with that one battery. Or if you wanted to make the bike a little bit lighter, you could do it like that as well. The two batteries combined are 22 pounds, guys. That's a lot of weight just in batteries. Now just the bike alone without the batteries is 72 pounds, and with the batteries is 94 pounds. So it's going to be a heavy bike, guys, with these batteries, but it is 22 pounds of battery on this bike to get you that long distance. I mean, I guess that's one trade-off, which I don't mind giving, is extra weight for a lot further distance. So that's one trade-off I could deal with. So now the first thing about this bike is that you could tell everything about this bike has good quality. Even the additional mirrors they give you, the mounts are all metal on it. Now the housing on the mirrors are plastic, but really nice looking design on the mirrors here. It has the Disland hydraulic disc brakes that I like, 180 millimeter rotors on both the front and the rear. It has a thumb throttle on the left-hand side here, a horn button underneath that, your control pad here for controlling your pedal assist levels, and also your different settings in your display. You can see you have voltage, current, control, and motor. I don't know what the motor and control mean. You can switch over to trip. There's your odometer, your runtime for your trip, and your watts that you're putting out, which is always nice to see. I love when bikes show you the wattage. Now this is the analog display. You can go ahead and switch this to a digital, and they also have a temperature one where it will say the temperature of your motor or your controller. However, I don't know if that one really works. It didn't seem like it actually showed you anything, but really nice, intuitive here. If you push the top and bottom button down, you can go ahead and get into the menu. You cannot go into the admin settings, but you could change anything you want in the user settings here. The voltage, you don't want to mess with that. Your over and under voltage. Current limit is set at 28 amps. Limit speed is set at 37. I thought I changed that to 50. Let's try to change it again. Wheel size is set at 20. Board temp 80 and motor temp 100. Not sure what those two mean. This is the first bike I've had that has that. Not sure if it gives you a little diagram or something if you go over those temperatures. Maybe something pops up on the screen. You can go into the advanced settings here, and this just tells you your hardware and software and serial number. Then you can go down into the menu here, and you have a standby time that you could set to a max of 15 minutes. You can't set it any higher than that, so that's when the bike will automatically shut off. You have a gear set here. You could change your pedal assist from 3, 5, or 9. There is no 7. A lot of bikes give you the option of 7, but there is 3, 5, and 9. But you cannot go in and adjust each level individually. Mileage 0. I'm not sure if this resets your odometer or not. Let's see what that does. We'll turn that on and see if it resets the odometer. Light sensor is off. You could turn the light sensor on. There's a little sensor here, so when it gets dark, it actually dims your display. Now, it doesn't turn the headlight on or anything like the Tesco did, but it does dim the display, which is pretty neat. But I'm going to go ahead and keep that off so that it stays full brightness no matter what. This is where you could change the analog or digital display. I'll show you the digital real quick, and then your backlight adjustment and direction. You don't want to mess with that. I think that might be direction of the motor. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm not going to mess with that. Let's exit out of here, and here's your digital display. So pretty neat that you can change it to a digital to get just the mile per hour in the center there. And it did clear the odometer, so we're going to go back into the menu here, and mileage 0 is off again. So if you do hit mileage 0 to on, it will clear your odometer back to 0. And we're going to go back to the digital meter, and I'm going to show you there is a temp setting there. And like I said, I'm not sure what this does. I didn't really see it make any changes as I was riding, but I'm assuming that's temperature controller, temperature of motor. It does tell you your miles per hour in the center really small. Maybe that will change if we put it on a big load going up a hill. I'm gonna have to do some more testing on that, and I'll update you guys down below in the comments if that works or anything. But I don't know what this is set at, if it's in Celsius or Fahrenheit, because 40 degrees Fahrenheit's awfully low right now. It's about 80 some, almost 90 degrees out here today. So not quite sure that actually works. But that's enough about the menu, guys. Pretty intuitive, pretty easy to figure out. Tells you what everything is. Not like other bikes where they give you P codes and all kind of other codes that are not understandable. At least it tells you pretty much what they are. So that's pretty nice to see. Over here on the right-hand side, we have an 8-speed trigger shifter, which leads down to the 12 to 34 tooth Shimano cassette. Now this is pretty unique, guys, because most e-bikes don't have cassettes on them. They have freewheels. A cassette's a little bit better of a design and a little bit better than a freewheel. They usually stay a little bit more true. In a freewheel, a lot of times you'll see it wobble if you're turning the pedals and that's turning. Usually on a cassette, it's a little bit more true, and usually they stay a little bit straighter without wobble. Now with that being said, I've never had a problem with a freewheel, but it is nice to see the upgraded cassette on this bike. It's using a Shimano Altus derailleur coming up the chain to a 52 tooth chainring in the front with a single-sided aluminum guard on it, and a really nice set of Wallke aluminum pedals. Really good non-slip pedals here, guys. They don't fold up or anything, but I really like the pedals here. Really nice, heavy duty. Definitely not going to slip off of these with these prongs on here, with these pegs. Now the suspension on this bike's pretty nice. On the right-hand side, you have an adjuster with about 5 clicks or so of adjustment with a lockout. You have a preload on the left-hand side, and then on the rear of the bike, you have dual suspension on the back. You have 2 shocks, one on each side, and you also have a suspension seat post. If you're a taller rider, you'll probably be okay with this, but if not, like I said, you'll want to probably put the regular seat post in there to get it down another 2.5 inches. So like I said, the batteries on this bike is massive 21 amp hour 48 volt battery in the rear, and then you have the battery inside the frame here for your secondary battery. Now you do not have to have the keys in this bike for the bike to work. You do have to have the key to remove the batteries, but they don't have to be in, don't have to be turned on or anything. Now that's a little bit of a negative in some ways, because somebody can easily steal your bike. If your batteries are in there, they're going to be able to turn it on and take it. So I do recommend a good lock, a good alarm system, which I'll put down below in the description, links to the things that I recommend. A cheap $18 alarm and a kryptonite lock is what I use a lot. And then also a disc brake lock if you want extra security, which is also an alarm. Don't ever rely on cable locks. They are junk, and people can easily cut them with a pair of snips, bolt cutters, or whatnot. So I would definitely get a good lock to lock up this bike, and maybe throw something like an air tag or something on it so you could track it in case somebody did steal it. So now this battery in the back here is almost identical to the Ebike Explorer battery. Now you cannot use the Explorer battery with this because it's just a little bit taller than this battery and doesn't sit down all the way. If you're pretty crafty, you might be able to make it work with that battery if you did have that bike, or make this battery work with the Ebike Explorer, because pretty much the same except for the height is just a little bit different. And the rear seat on this bike looks like you could slide it off pretty easily. The way that it is mounted on here, probably remove a screw and be able to slide that off, and then you could use this as just a rear rack, or you could just attach your bag right on back of this seat. But I really do like this seat on the back of this bike. My son already wanted to go for a ride, but there is no foot pegs in the back, so keep in mind if you ride anybody on back here, be very cautious of them getting their feet caught in stuff. That's something that I wouldn't really recommend doing with small children. So this bike does come with a set of front and rear fenders, which is nice to keep you clean during your ride, and a set of 20 by 4 inch Kenda fat tires. So that's going to give you a little bit of cushion on your ride as well. It has spoked rims in both the front and the rear, and it has these little reflectors here, which I kind of like better than the cheap plastic ones that sometimes they put in bikes, but those are pretty discreet there, and they're pretty nice for a little bit of safety. But this bike doesn't have any reflective strip or anything on the tires, so you might want to put maybe a reflective strip on the rim. I'll put links down below for something that I use on my bikes all the time on 20-inch fat tires for reflective strips. And if you guys didn't see that video, make sure you check it out with the reflective strips that I did on the electrics. They're pretty cool. Now coming down the front of the bike, the wiring is wrapped pretty good, and it has a pretty nice headlight on the front, similar to some of my other bikes. And I love the way that the stem locks on this bike. I have some other bikes that have a stem that locks like this, and I always like this style clamp on these bikes. It secures really well and is really easy to adjust. So you do have adjustability on the handlebars here as well. This is all the way down, and you have a few inches of adjustment up as well for taller riders. The cable's perfect in length. They don't give you too much excessive cable there where it's coming way out, but that's really nice. Seems like everything was cut well and designed well for the cabling on it. And the cabling looks pretty clean, guys. It goes underneath the frame here, but really nice clean look, no complaints there. Now up here on the display, this is a really nice, it's probably like aluminum, but it's definitely metal for the bracket here, not plastic like some of my other bikes that tend to break sometimes. And they do give you a quick release here where you can easily adjust the handlebars. However, you can't really release that release with this display here. There's no room, so you won't be able to do the quick release to adjust that unless you remove this. So it's really not a quick release. It is, but it isn't. It's there. You really can't use it unless you remove this, which doesn't make it very quick. So it can be done, just not very easily. On the back of the bike, the back light is a brake light, which is really nice. You don't even have to have the lights on for it to work. But if you turn the lights on, it is a nice little light in the middle. And then when you hit the brake, it gets a lot brighter. Really nice for safety, guys. But I did want to mention that the one thing I noticed is this plug on the side for the battery charge port. It doesn't really go in far enough to really plug the hole of the battery because the battery sits way in there. It's a little bit loose in the hole of the frame. It doesn't really want to stay in there too well. So that would have been nice to see that a little tighter to keep water out, just something to keep in mind. And the battery in this bike, when I got it and did my first quick ride on it, the battery inside this frame was very, very loose, guys. It wobbled back and forth a lot. So pretty easy fix. If you guys seen my Instagram post, I took the battery out, put some felt pads on it where I felt they should be. I put them on one side on this battery to get it over further. That way it will get better contact with the contacts back here. And it tightened it up. No play whatsoever in that battery now. I did reach out to them and they did say that they would update that in future batches to prevent that battery from rattling around like that. So really nice to see if they do update that in the future. Now for charging this bike up, they do give you two chargers, one for each battery. They give you a 3 amp hour charger for the 21 amp hour battery, and they give you a 2 amp hour charger for the 14 amp hour battery that's inside the frame. Now you could charge both of these batteries on the bike or take both of them off and charge them off the bike, which is really nice. If you're storing this bike in the winter, you could take both batteries off, take them inside, and charge just the batteries up and keep the batteries inside where it's warm, because you never want your batteries stored in the wintertime way below freezing. And also for better, longer battery life of your batteries, you never want to store them at 100% if you're not going to ride for a while. Try to keep them around 60% or so. Just a quick tip to try to get longer life out of your lithium batteries. Now they do state that these are Samsung cells in these batteries. There's really no way for me to verify that, but that's what they are stated at. And this bike is a little bit pricey, guys. As of me filming this video, it is $2,500, but the massive 35 amp hour battery, you probably have at least $1,000 in just batteries there alone. For the seat on this bike, it is a pretty big seat and it feels like it's a gel seat, so not too bad, pretty soft, guys. I'll let you guys know what I think about it a little bit later. And this bike does fold down pretty small, makes it a lot easier for transport. Now you might want to remove the batteries whenever you do fold it up and try to carry it around, because it is going to be a pretty heavy, awkward bike, even though it's folded up and a lot smaller that way. But that's some of the main features of this bike. Let's hop on it, see what kind of speed and power we can get out of it. Now, I am starting this ride at about 80% battery life. It's actually 79% right now. And the front battery was about 1 volt less than the rear. So we're gonna see how the batteries are when I get back, see if they equalized out, see if they're still a little bit off. But just something that I was wondering about. Don't know if it matters, but I wanted to know if that battery equalizer uses the battery with a higher voltage until it gets down and then uses both at the same time. I'm not quite sure how that equalizer works, or if it uses both batteries together at the same time, regardless of what voltage they're at. All right, guys, here we go. Pedal assist 5. I'm just gonna use throttle only and see how it pulls me up this hill. 15 mile an hour, 16. And like I said, guys, this is a heavy bike with the batteries, 94 pounds, and it's pulling me up no problem. 10 miles per hour. That's that 28 amp controller working, 1400, almost 1500 watts, and that's it. 77% battery life, guys. So putting out 14 to 1500 watts easily. All right, so if you've seen a lot of my other e-bike review videos, every time I have these brakes on a bike, I tend to like them, never have problems with them, very easy to adjust, and they stop you really well, never have any squeaks or squills. So really happy with the brakes that they used on this bike, guys. You can see here, 2-finger pull coming down this pretty steep hill and able to stop easily with just the back brakes. Now normally I'd be using both, but holding the GoPro with one hand. So really nice braking system here on these Disland hydraulic disc brakes. I could smell them burning a little bit, being that I was only using the back brake coming down that hill, but really nice, guys. Now, one thing I noticed on this bike is when I'm riding one-handed like this, I have a little bit of a bounce in the front wheel at higher speeds. Once I get up to a higher speed, you can see it starting to bounce a little bit right there. Now, that can be because the tire might not be seated on the rim correctly. Usually, I'll go ahead, release the pressure of the tires when I put the bike together and assemble it, and then I'll massage it while I air them back up. They seemed okay when I put it together, so I didn't mess with it, but I think that's something that I might need to do. But I did notice that there is a little shake in the front when I'm riding one-handed, so I'm going to try to ride mostly two hands if I'm going at a little bit higher speeds. So might not be able to get all the GoPro angles that I usually get in all my videos, but I'm going to do the best I can here, guys, and trying to be safe. Let's hit some bumps down here. We're going to go ahead and hold on two hands. Now, I didn't notice any issues. Oh, whew. Couldn't hang on there, guys. But I didn't notice any issues with it rattling with holding the handlebars with two hands, so no issues at all there. Just when I'm going one-handed, like I said, guys. So I'll probably mess with that front tire, try to get it a little bit straighter. But so far, so good, guys. When I get down here on a straight stretch, we're gonna go ahead and see how fast this bike can do with both throttle and pedal assist level. So I'll see you guys when we get to that straight stretch. Straight stretch. All right, so just like the last test I did with that 90-pound bike that I reviewed, this one's 94. We're gonna see how it is to pedal without a motor. So this is what it's like in gear one. Now, this has a 32-tooth gear, which is a little higher than most freewheels that usually come at 28. So you are gonna get a better mechanical advantage. And this is a very, very slight incline right here. And it's a little tough pedaling up, guys, even in gear one. So this isn't very big at all. So keep in mind, if you're pedaling this bike with no motor, it is going to be tough if you hit any hills. Now, you can do it on level ground. It is doable. We'll show you that here on this level straight stretch here. Slow down a little bit because it just came downhill. But you can go ahead, shift through a few gears, and it is doable on level ground, but it is a little bit harder to pedal than some of my other bikes. But on level ground, you shouldn't have a problem if you run out of battery pedaling back home a few miles or whatnot. But with this massive 35 amp hour battery, if you run out of juice on your ride, then you're doing something wrong. All right, guys, here we go. Pedal assist 1 with just throttle is about 11 miles per hour here. Let's see what it is pedaling. Let's see if it's the same. Yeah, it's about 11 miles per hour. So that's a little bit fast in pedal assist 1, not too bad. It doesn't seem fast, but if you're pedaling with your kids and they're pedaling a little slower than that, I don't think there's really any way you can adjust that down unless you turn the max speed down maybe, then maybe it would slow pedal assist 1 down. Maybe we'll try it out at the end of this video. So let's bump it up into pedal assist 5 here. And we're gonna see how fast we can do with just throttle only, guys. $28. 29, 30, 31, 31 miles per hour, guys. Max speed on this bike. And it's holding pretty good. Going up this little incline here, 27, 26, didn't lose much speed there. Really nice, guys. Nice power, nice speed. Maximum of 31 miles per hour, and it's actually a little bit windy hitting me in the face here So that's actually probably slowing me down a slight bit. But on level ground, I would say max speed 31 miles per hour, and that's at 165 pounds for the rider. All right, let's see what kind of speed we can maintain going up this hill with just throttle. Oh yeah, 20 miles per hour, 19. Ah, this has really nice power coming up these hills, guys. Even at a 94-pound bike with those batteries, really good power with that 28 amp controller. 1,458 watts right now it's putting out. And let's scroll over to amps. It says 30 amps of current. It's a 28 amp controller. It says plus or minus an amp, but it says putting out 30 amps on the display, guys. So I don't know, they say it's 30 amps on their website, but the controller said 28 amps on it. It's showing that it's putting out 30, so I'm not sure what's off there, but definitely good power, guys. All right, so one thing I noticed about this bike is the motor is very, very quiet compared to some of my other bikes that are similar to power of this one. This one has really, really good power so far, but when we get to the steepest hill in my town, I'm gonna try to do throttle only and see if I can get up it with that 28 amp controller. But if you guys listen throughout the rest of this video or go back and rewatch where I did that speed test, you'll hear that the motor is very, very quiet and it's really, really smooth as far as the throttle goes and the pickup. It's not real jerky, which is really nice and really nice to ride. Really soft and enjoyable feeling, but yet still has tons of power, tons of speed. So keep an eye out for that on the rest of this video. But let's go ahead, get into the rest of this ride test here and see how it performs going up that steep hill. So you see here, I just started out very soft, very smooth, picks up really gradual, doesn't jerk you or anything. All right, let's try out this suspension, one-handed here. And I'm not sure if you could see that rear suspension working or not. I could definitely feel the suspension seat post working. And it does seem like the slower you pedal, the less power it gives you, or the less speed it gives you. So if you're pedaling really slow, it'll let you go somewhat slow. So here's pedal assist 1, 8 mile an hour, but if I speed up on the pedals, the speed picks up 9, 10, 11. So you can go a little bit slower in PAS 1 if you pedal a little bit slower. So that's pretty nice. And suspension does seem to be working pretty good, guys. Front suspension's pretty nice. Rear suspension is a little stiff with that dual suspension, but I'm getting most of the suspension out of the seat post here. So if you take that suspension post off and put the regular one in, it might be a little bit of a hard ride in the rear of this bike with this back suspension. Let's see if you can see the suspension on the back. I'll try to bounce on it. All right, so the speed is limited by your pedal assist levels. Right now I'm in pedal assist 1, but your power is not limited with your throttle and different pedal assist levels. So right now it's only putting out about 200 watts of power, and I'm in pedal assist 1, pedaling a little bit hard, but I could give it throttle here and it'll bump up to 1,400, almost 1,500 watts and pull me right up this hill. So your throttle's not limited by your pedal assist levels, but your speed is. So in one here with the throttle, I'm not gonna be able to go past about 11 miles per hour, but it's nice that I could just hit the throttle and get up that hill if I need to without having to shift up in pedal assist levels. All right, here we go. Steepest hill in my town. We're gonna go ahead, just throttle up it and see how good it does with just throttle only. And I'll let you know when we hit the steepest part. It's always hard to show how steep these hills are. You might be able to see it in this grass here on this side. All right, we're on the steepest part now. It's putting out 1,470 watts. And I would normally I'm gonna start pedaling, guys. It will pull me up. I'm past the steepest part now. So it did pull me up that steepest part on the steepest hill in my town with just throttle, but it was a little bit slow there at the top, and normally I would have started the pedal because I felt like it was starting to strain just a little bit. But really good, guys, for a 94-pound bike, for it to pull me right up that without pedaling at all is really good. Really happy with the power of this bike. See you on the next hill, guys. All right, so now we're going up the last long hill before my house. This is a little bit of a different one. It's actually on the other side of the road of the one that I normally go up, but there's a pretty big dip and a pretty big hill on this route here. So we're gonna try to go up that and see how it does. But I'm in 8th gear, pedaling up this hill, not really putting any effort into it. Now I did change the display to where it showed that TC and TM temperature screen. And the TC, which I'm assuming is the controller, is at 79 right now, plus 79. So not quite sure what that means. It's definitely, I wouldn't think it would be Fahrenheit because it's about 90 degrees out here today. And I would say the controller is probably definitely more, you know, warmer than it is than the ambient temperature out here. So I'm not really quite sure how to read that, guys. If you know, let me know down in the comments. Maybe it's Celsius, but I would think that would be pretty hot if it was Celsius. So I'm probably not ever going to be using that screen. And the TM still says 0. So I'm assuming there is no temperature sensor in the motor because it's, like I said, reading 0. So it'd be nice to know what that is. Not quite sure what it is, but you can hear that motor, guys. Very, very quiet. And I'm going uphill. It's putting out 1100 watts right now, almost 1200 watts. Probably gonna hit around 14 to 15 up around this bend here. Very, very, very quiet, guys. The programming on this bike and just the smoothness of the motor is pretty nice. That's one thing I definitely gotta give to them on this bike. So we're gonna go down this dip right here to the main road and then shoot back up over that other hill. And we'll see how good the bike does. Right now I'm just using the front brake here, stopped me really good. All right, let's see how we can get up this. And I'm gonna stay in gear 8. Oh yeah, no problem, guys. There's the hill, if you guys can see it. Trying to get the angle for you to see how steep it is. Right up it, no problem, gear 8. Pedal assist 5, full throttle, easily. All right, so how I said earlier in the video that pedal assist 1 was about 11 miles per hour and a little bit fast. So I turned the max speed down to 30 miles per hour and now pedal assist 1 is at 9 miles per hour. So what I'm gonna do is go into the setting, turn it down to 20 miles per hour, which is the legal limit for a class 2 e-bike in the United States in most areas. And then we're gonna see what the pedal assist level 1 is. So you can limit your pedal assist levels by setting your max speed lower. Even though you can't go in and dial in the power of each level, you can lower all the levels by lowering your max speed. And you could take this thing all the way down to 1 mile per hour if you want and get it to go really, really slow if you had somebody riding the bike that wasn't used to the power and speed of this bike. So let's go in the settings here and lower that down, holding the plus and negative button here. Go into the user settings, down to limit speed, and we'll set that down to 20 miles per hour. And the trip meter on this bike is really accurate, the odometer. I went 10 miles during this ride. The trip says 10 miles and odometer says 10 miles. So that's really nice to see that it's set correctly. Even with the wheel diameter set to 20 inches, typically on a 20-inch 4-inch fat tire e-bike, you normally have to have it set around 22 to 23 inches for the height of the top of the tire. I'm not going to mess with it because the odometer and trip meter are right on the money how it comes set from the factory. So now that I have it set down to 20 miles per hour max speed, let's see the max speed in pedal assist 1, what it is now. So it looks like it's going to be about 6 to 7 miles per hour, which is perfect. 5, actually about 5 or 6 miles per hour. So really nice, guys. You could definitely set this bike down lower to pedal with your kids on the bike trail. Not gonna be too fast. I mean, you could go really slow, 5 miles an hour here in pedal assist 1. Really, really nice that you can dial it down. And you could probably even take it down lower if you set that max speed down lower than 20. So let's see if it actually caps out at 20 miles per hour. Here's pedal assist 5. 18, 19, 20, 21, 20. So yeah, it caps it at right at around 20 to 21 miles per hour. Really nice. I told you guys the programming on this bike is really nice. I mean, it's nice that they have the odometer dialed in. It's nice that you can adjust your speed to top out it whatever you want, and it will actually limit you to that speed. Some bikes, no matter what you adjust it to, it doesn't matter, and it just gives you however it comes programmed from the factory. So really nice there. You could tone, even though you can't tone down each individual level, you could tone down, like I said before, your max speed, which reduces the speed of all the levels. And you could set it to have more pedal assist levels if you want, from 3, 5, or 9, which is nice. And just the sound of the motor sounds excellent on this bike. It doesn't sound like it's straining, it's not very loud. It's just, maybe they used a really good controller in here. I don't know, but it's definitely one of the quieter bikes from all the bikes that I have. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. We're gonna go ahead back to the house and check out the voltages of each of these batteries and see if they're equalized now. When I started, I was at 49 volts on the front battery and 50 on the rear. So we're gonna see how close in comparison they are to each other now. And if you guys found this video helpful, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you get notified of future videos. And consider leaving a comment down below, guys, because that really helps my channel out and helps YouTube recommend my videos more. So I appreciate you guys. If you're interested in this bike, I'll leave affiliate links, like I said, down below. But let's go over to the house and check out the voltages on these batteries. All right, guys, I'm back over at the house, and I did notice on where it says control on this screen display, that's actually the temperature when you're in the temperature display. So you don't even have to put the temperature display on. You can still see the control temperature, but I'm not, like I said, not sure if that's Fahrenheit or what. Motor is always at 0, so apparently there's no motor temperature sensor in there. That would have been pretty cool to see. All right, and what's strange is it just had 33% when I was over in that parking lot, and I shut the bike off, turned it back on, which resets your trip meter. I wish it wouldn't have reset the trip, and I wish it would keep that and let you clear it, but it does reset when you reset the bike. But it jumped back up to 59%. Now I was sitting over there and it said 30-some%, so I'm not sure why after restarting the bike it went up to 59%. So if that's the case, we started at 80 and we're only down to 59, so that's pretty good, guys. Let's see what voltage we're at. Right now we're setting at 48 volts, which is probably fairly close to 50-some%. So not sure why it was at 30-some%. Maybe it's at 30-some% when I had a load on it, and then it takes a while just to come back at the voltage when it's just sitting there stationary. Maybe. Let's check the voltages. So the front battery's at 47.2 volts and the rear battery's at 47.7 volts. So really close now on the voltages between the two batteries. So I would assume that it uses both batteries at the same time, or it uses the battery that has the higher voltage first and then starts using both. Not quite sure exactly how that works, guys, but told you I'd update you on the seat. The seat was not too bad, and it's gonna be good for a lot of people. So thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you guys subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.